Woo! How you doing, Savvy Pants shoppers? A video for LuLaRoe reps, or people that have responded to us, whether you're LuLaRoe rep or you're in direct sales or you're in the queue. We've had some questions after you've seen some of our videos about, hey, how do you guys have such an engaged group? I had the problem that they identify is I've got a huge group with zero engagement. So we did a previous video, address a couple things here really quickly. We did a previous video on why we don't do loop sales and why we don't do multi-consultant sales, and why that just doesn't work for us. I'm assuming that it works for other people because a lot of people keep doing it, and a lot of people have giant groups because of it. The previous group that we had, about 2,500 people in it, had virtually no engagement at all. We would post things and we would get nobody seeing it. They wouldn't even know that we had a live show coming on or even that we had an album sale coming up. They just wouldn't be able to see it. So we decided that was a group that we had inherited. So we were graciously given that group. We thought it would be a great thing. Long story short, we couldn't get any engagement out of it. Tried to work it for, I don't know, a couple months and didn't get anywhere. We decided to close that entire group down, which means deleting each person individually, one at a time, which took a lot of time to do that. After doing that, we opened up a much smaller group and we just built it organically. If you were in that larger group, we gave you the opportunity over the course of a week to join the small group. If you didn't want to join, obviously you weren't that committed to us in the first place. No harm, no foul. We love you. You've obviously found your LuLaRoe fix somewhere else. Totally fine. So we started a much smaller group and it's been growing organically since then. So first, address the large numbers group. I have a huge group that's not engaged. I don't know how you built your group, so it's hard to analyze where those people came from. So two issues there. Let's address where they came from. If they're loop sales or multi-consultant giveaways, what we found in a lot of cases is those people just aren't terribly engaged in your group and they're a little bit drive-by. They want to come in and see something and then they're right back out, or they don't engage, or they'll sit in your group, or they're a member of 50 of these things. 50, 60 LuLaRoe groups, and they're just not going to spend a lot of time in your group because there's so many groups that they're in. What we found is there's not a ton of loyalty, both on the consumer end and, being very honest, on the rep end. It's really hard if you've got a group of 18,000 people or 3,000 people to personally know each one of those people and where they came from. So it's very hard to draw that connection. So if you have a huge group that's not engaged, you have to ask yourself how those people got in the group in the first place. If they came into the group with very little engagement, you could assume that way. I'm trying to think of a good analogy. If you were to, the difference between buying a car online and being able to buy a car from a dealer. Obviously, if you're online, you have very little engagement. You're not looking for a personal connection at all. If you buy something from a dealer, obviously you have to walk in, you develop a relationship. It's much different. It feels like multi-consultants and loops and things like that. Those are people that are just buying online. They're not really attached to the consultant. They don't know you, you don't know them, versus a dealership where you're going to build a relationship with those people. So kind of maybe think of it that way. Of course, as a guy, I go to a car analogy. The other side of it is, I don't know how you do your live sales. I don't know how you engage with your people. So if you don't engage with your people very well in a large group, just because the group is smaller doesn't necessarily mean that's going to fix the problem, if that makes any sense. If you're not authentic, if you're not real, if people can't relate to you, if they don't like your presentation, your attitude, your lighting, whatever that is, it's not appealing to them, they're not going to be a part of your group, whether it's big or small. So necessarily, we've got a lot of emails that have said, hey, I've thought about closing this group down and starting a VIP group. I don't know what created the problem on the big page, but if you take that same problem into a smaller group, that isn't going to fix anything. It's just going to mean you have the same problem just with a smaller group, if that makes any sense. So try to figure out why you're not engaging with people or why you're not being authentic. And one of the reasons why we don't have consultants in our group, they could see how we run the show and we could teach you all the mechanics. You know, here's where we put our clothes, here's where we put our numbers, here's how we manage the comments, here's why we do the sold rack. I don't think that's what people are asking. They want to see actually how we're doing the show, which is great, but they can't be us and we can't be you. So there are other consultants, we watch their shows and go, oh my gosh, those guys are hysterical. Sometimes we like to just watch because we like to know how they're doing. And just watch there. But we can't be them. Does that make sense? You need to be yourself. And what you'll find is people start liking who you really are, because you can be who you really are all the time. If you're trying to fake it and be somebody else, people get attached to that, and then one day you slip or your attitude changes and they're like, well, that's not the same person. Well, what's the deal? They need to grow to love you for who you are, so you need to be yourself and be authentic. So in order to fix that problem, don't necessarily, the answer is not get a smaller group and therefore they're going to be more engaged. We don't do any loop sales, we don't do any giveaways, and we don't do actually any other live shows with our inventory in any other group. That's just the way we operate. And we don't approve people in our group that have been added by somebody else in the group. We actually go through periodically and knock those people out. So everybody that is in our group at some point has asked to join. And then they kind of sit in our queue and let us wait for us to approve them. So just some tips and tricks there. If there's anything we can do to help you out, don't hesitate to reach out and find us. We're happy to answer the question. Answering this question because we've gotten a lot of emails on this in the last week. Hopefully that helps out. Please subscribe to the channel for more worthless content just like this. We're happy to provide. And if you are thinking about being a consultant, ask us any questions that you want. Our group might not be the best one for you to get in anyway. So just ask us and we'll honestly give you some answers to it. Any other questions? Find us below. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. Be good. Be good at it. Love ya. Savvy Pants Shop out.